VHS Files contains spoilers, adult content, and harsh language. Listener discretion is advised.
It's showtime. It's showtime.
Welcome to the VHS Files Podcast with Jenny Lou,
So what do you want to do tonight?
Jason,
What about pizza and movie night?
Eric,
I want to rent a movie.
and Josh.
I want to go to a good video store so I can get a good movie.
And this is the movie of the week.
Let's get this pizza movie night started.
Hey everyone, we're back.
We're back.
So good to be back with a movie of the week. It's been a while.
It has been a while. Do we know why it's been a
like
while?
Months.
Yeah, I know already.
Jenny and I are finally in Georgia, everybody. So we're moved in. Everything's good.
Hey.
We're getting back into the swing of things. So we're excited. We're back with a movie of the week for everybody this week. So let's do a little catch up. How's everybody been? We haven't really had a chance to get on and talk in about a month. So Eric, Jason, how are you guys doing?
We're here, bro.
Doing great. Living the dream here in Florida.
It's our first
Working.
It's our first tri-state recording.
Yeah.
We're all in different states instead of you guys being there and just me out here all alone. Now we're all spread out throughout the whole South and Southeast.
We're regional now.
That's right.
VHS Files
we can
is
spread the
spreading out.
word easier now.
Yeah. It's only a matter of time now.
We're going global, people. But
Well, it was a bit of a fiasco for us getting here. I mean, we went without all of our belongings for 2 days. That was a nightmare.
it's fun sleeping on the floor and having gas leaks and stuff. isn't it?
No, it's not fun sleeping on the floor. The gas leak was the least of the problems.
Yeah, that was like the easiest fix.
It probably helped you sleep.
Why am I so
No.
sleepy, Jenny?
It's probably a good thing we didn't sleep very well that first night because it could have been worse, I guess.
We had that fixed the first night.
We did.
We didn't have the heat fixed.
Right. Our heat did not work the first night we were here. We were
Cold
freezing.
in Georgia, people.
And Jenny hates the cold, and y'all move north.
I don't hate the cold.
Some people would not call Georgia north. We moved north of Florida.
That's a long ways north from the beaches of Panama City to up north up there. You're almost to Tennessee.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you moved a little bit north.
So a lot more culture here than where we lived in Florida. Already been to a couple of cool little collectible shops that we're probably going to have to frequent because they have lots of cool collectibles.
I want that Carnage.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
cool.
I was sending Jason photos yesterday of all the stuff I was finding in this collectible store, and he's like, dude.
I want the Hellraiser one. I want all of it, dude. I could have dropped $500 sending Josh money yesterday to pick up everything that he saw. I was like, no, I got an adult.
Even Jenny, who's a little reserved about stuff like that, was even like, I could have spent so much money in that.
Yeah, it would have been bad.
But, well, let's get right into it. This week we watched Adventures in Babysitting.
The movie of the week.
Meet Chris Parker. Getting ready for the greatest night of her life.
Hi.
I gotta cancel. Now she's stuck babysitting the Anderson kids. Sarah,
Mom got Chris to babysit for me.
Chris, her brother Brad,
Oh my.
his best friend Daryl,
Who is this kid? Stray dog.
Take good care of my baby. I'll guard her with my life.
what could possibly go wrong.
Chris, I'm in trouble.
Hang up and sit down. I'll be there in half an hour.
Adventures in Babysitting.
Think your parents will ever ask me to babysit again?
If they do, I'd ask them for $1 more an hour.
It's weird doing a movie of the week. We haven't done one in a while, so I got to kind of get back in the swing of this here. But directed by Chris Columbus. This was Chris Columbus' first directorial movie.
Have we done one of his movies before?
We have done one of his movies before. I'm going to get to that in just a moment. But another thing I thought was pretty interesting about this one is it was produced by Deborah Hill.
That's the first thing that popped out to me. Hey,
Yep.
That's Halloween alumni right there. We wouldn't have Halloween if it wasn't for her and Carpenter, man.
So one half of the Carpenter Hill team produced on this one. Christopher Columbus, like I said, directorial debut here. He took this one because he thought he could deal with the subject matter in it, and it was going to be a good thing for him to start with his first film. After this, of course, he would go on to do Home Alone, which we've talked about on the show already. Only the Lonely with John Candy, Home Alone 2, Mrs. Doubtfire, and a few of the Harry Potter movies as well, which is one of Jenny's big fandoms. This was released on July 3rd, 1987, and strikingly enough, I could not find the budget for this movie, but I did find the box office. It made about $34 million and was released amongst the likes of Spaceballs, Predator, Full Metal Jacket, Inner Space, which is one of my favorite Martin Short movies, James Bond's The Living Daylights, and Eric's favorite movie of that year, The Brave Little Toaster.
It might be. It might actually. No, I like Predator more, but I love Brave Little Toaster. That's a great movie. Nothing wrong with that.
I've actually never seen The Brave Little Toaster, so.
I've seen that. Come on, man.
I have not seen that one. I've seen all the other movies I just listed other than The Living Daylights, but yeah, 1987. We've already went down the road of 1987, I believe, with our Lost Boys episode, but we're going to have Eric take us back in time to 1987.
We're sending you back in time.
Whoa, this is heavy.
Well, Josh, in 1987, a man named Steve Rothstein bought a lifetime unlimited first-class American Airlines ticket for $250,000. He then flew over 10,000 flights, costing the company about $21 million. Whoa! That was worth it. 22% of all mattress sales in the U.S. Were waterbed mattresses.
I had one.
I had one too.
Yeah, so did I. This was actually the peak of their popularity. Hey, guys, do you know how to make a waterbed more bouncy?
No.
It's actually pretty easy. Just add spring water.
We're back with the bad jokes, everybody.
I'm sorry. So, also 2 television stations in Chicago were hijacked within the course of 3 hours by a guy dressed as Max Headroom. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
To this day, the hijacker has not been found. They never figured out who it was that did that. So that's a cool little.
It was the Zodiac killer. They never found him.
They probably know each other. And finally, some great hip hop came out that year, including this. Hit it, Josh.
Criminal minded, you've been blinded. Looking for a style like mine, you can't find it. They are the audience, I am the lyricist. Sometimes the suckers on the side gotta hear this page, a rage that I'm not in a cage.
Boogie Down Productions, and I was lucky enough to see KRS-One in Tallahassee a few years back.
Nice.
So that was fun.
All right. Well, is that all you got for 1987 there, Eric?
That is. This is actually our fourth movie.
He had to dig deep.
So it was this, Lost Boys, what else? Was Monster Squad 87 also?
I can't.
I lost count, dude. We're stuck on 1987, dude. I was 10 years old for this whole VH Files thing that we do here.
VH Files?
VHS File. I can't talk. I'm out of practice. Come on, man.
I mean,
you forgot the name of the show. It's been so long.
Who are you guys? I thought I was on a business call.
You've also got RoboCop, La Bamba, Summer School, Superman 4, which is a classic. I mean, 87 was a damn good year for movie lovers, I'd have to say. Dirty Dancing, Garbage Pail Kids, Monster Squad, Masters of the Universe.
Josh is pushing that movie so hard. He's talked about it so many times on this show.
We're going to talk about it. I'm telling you, it's going to happen sooner than later. But tonight we're going to talk about Adventures in Babysitting. So give me some background, everybody. What's everybody's previous experiences with Adventures in Babysitting? I know Jenny was very excited to do this movie. Do you want to start us off?
Yeah. So I did not see this in the theater, but this was played frequently in my house. We might have actually bought the VHS. I can't be sure, but I watched it all the time.
It was that serious, huh?
Yeah. I mean, for me, this movie is really up there with like Goonies. Like, this is a movie of my childhood.
Right.
Like, when I think back to what I watched then, this is always one that comes up.
Yeah.
Right away.
Not for me, but I'm glad it holds a space in your heart.
Jenny, did you ever babysit?
Very rarely. Me and the kids, not so much with the, getting along. Kind of thing.
We do not have children, ladies and gentlemen, just in case you're wondering.
I like my friends' kids, but random children, not so much. I babysat for 2 boys when I was about 14, maybe. And God, they were hellions. And I did it twice and never again.
Did you ever have to chase one out the window of a skyscraper?
I did not.
That was the second night. She had to do that.
Right.
What do they call it? They call it OPK, right? Other people's kids.
Yeah.
They like your kids, but OPK, not always so good.
It's like cats. I like my cat, but I hate all the other cats.
Yoshi is the best cat.
Yoshi's the oldest cat. We found out the oldest cat in the world is like 31 years old. I think Yoshi's going to trump that.
I'm thinking, dude. I'm pulling for Yoshi, dude. I'm pulling for Yoshi.
But Eric, Jason, do you guys have any background with adventures in babysitting?
Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely watched this one as a kid. My favorite part was always Thor. I mean, you got to understand, this was the closest thing to a live action representation of Marvel's Thor that you ever got. Vincent D'Onofrio. And that was what stuck with me more than anything, honestly.
Same here.
Because I was just such a comic nut as a kid. So I loved all that stuff. I wanted that helmet that she had. I never saw that anywhere. That must be a movie prop or something, because I didn't see that at the
keep
store.
an eye out on eBay for you. I'll see if I can pick it up.
Yeah, let me know. But yeah, I watched that one a lot as a kid, and I will say I haven't watched it in a long time, and watching it as a parent is different.
Yeah.
As we will get into.
Jason, what about you?
Oh, this was definitely a rental. I think my mom or somebody rented it. It was not a childhood watching movie of mine. I think I watched it maybe once, maybe twice. For the viewing that I did for this episode, I think it's been about maybe 25, 30 years since I watched this movie, because I'm that old. So, but it wasn't a movie that was a big favorite. But now, a lot of girlfriends in junior high and high school loved this movie. I think it was more geared to the babysitting girls of that age, all the way up into the high school. So it really wasn't a thing for me. But yeah, the whole Thor thing was cool. But and don't forget, Eric, we did have a live representation of Thor in The Incredible Hulk Returns 1 year after this.
That's true.
So come on, man.
True.
What are you doing, comic book bro? Man.
Hey, I said
This
to
was
this
the
point,
first.
so
This was the first.
I was not incorrect.
But definitely, yeah, it wasn't a big time childhood thing for me. I did enjoy parts of it though.
I didn't see it until much later. I think probably when Jenny and I got together and she asked me if I'd ever seen it, and then we finally watched it at some point. But definitely not something that I grew up watching by any means. I do remember seeing it as a kid, and like Eric mentioned, the Thor stuff stuck out to me because the little, Sarah is so obsessed with Thor in it, and then you've got this mechanic at the end who looks like Thor to her and whatnot. So that always left the impression of me on me. And then, of course, Elizabeth Shue. I'm a big Karate Kid fan,
so hot.
That kind of just moves over. I have a theory that actually Elizabeth Shue's character in this is her character from the Karate Kid. She's just babysitting one night. It could work. It could absolutely
Or Back to the
work.
Future.
She's reaching for that one. Really?
No, we're not
Breaks
going
up
Back
with-
to the Future route. Elizabeth Shue should have never been in the Back to the Future movies. I'm sorry.
breaks up with Marty in a separate timeline, starts dating,
Okay, we're
whatever his
getting
name
into
is.
timelines here.
Bradley Whitford.
And that's after he was graduated from, or was headed to college in Revenge of the Nerds 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're trying to make it all tie together in the movie world.
Which Revenge of the Nerds 2 came out this year as well.
Well, there you go. There you go.
The typeface, the title typeface, and the opening credits reminds me of. It's not the same, but it reminds me of the typeface from Back to the Future.
Yeah,
it's got that big lean on it.
Yeah,
very colorful. I mean, I don't know if that came from the Drew Struzan. Is that how you say his name? You know, the artist that does those posters. You know, the great box art of this movie,
right?
And I don't know if that was like a typeface that he put together, but of course he did the Back to the Future one. I don't know. I just kept looking at that typeface in the beginning, and I'm like, gosh, it's so like colorful and energetic. Like this is going to be some kind of crazy sci-fi movie. But
I mean, the box art for this movie definitely sticks out. I mean, it's one of those that's very iconic for the time. You know, because of the nature of like Thor and all the stuff they go through here. It looks like almost like a cover of a comic book almost.
Right, they're crawling like Batman going up the wall,
right?
Like Batman and Robin, kind of, you know.
But well, we get into the movie here, and you know, we've already started talking about Elizabeth Shue. The opening with her dancing around, singing, and then he kissed me. I think it's very charming, and I really enjoy. I enjoy watching her dance around as the credits roll, and all of that in the movie. Was that something that kind of set like?
I have a lot to say about this.
Okay.
Yes. So from the minute you hear the opening notes of the song, I was hooked. And then he kissed me by the Crystals. And the way that she tells a story without saying anything to you.
Yeah.
You know that she's getting ready for a big night out, that she obviously has a boyfriend that she loves. She's envisioning marrying him. I mean, I definitely put like the pillowcase over my head. Like she uses the curtains
with the drapes.
Yeah. So
the Klan rally.
Oh,
whoa! I'm sorry.
How did we go down?
Sorry,
this
you
road?
meant like a bride. I'm sorry.
Yes, like a bride. And
Trump is not in office anymore, Eric.
Sorry, Jenny, please carry on.
I always wanted one of those 4-poster beds, so like you could use it like a microphone. And I thought that was the neatest thing ever. I know this dance. Like I was doing it in my seat last night while the song was on.
She was.
I was going to say, did she do this like after the first time you kissed her, Josh? I mean, is this what happened later when she went home? Come on.
I don't know.
Lay it out, Jenny.
I don't know. The first time I kissed her and ran away.
He did. He ran away.
Like literally. That's a story for another time.
Yeah,
though,
let's
folks.
get that. But I saw like a picture of Jenny and there doing this after y'all's first big date. So,
but I love this song so much. I made my dad buy it for our jukebox.
Yep.
And the scene, you know, makes you like her. It's very endearing.
Yep.
She's sweet, innocent girl. Seems like a really nice person, and you're on board right away. You're on her side, you know.
Well, I'll tell you, the next scene doesn't make me like Bradley Whitford because this dude is douchebag from the moment you lay eyes on him.
He's a douchebag in everything.
Not in everything.
No, I mean,
not
like
in everything.
But in the 80s and early 90s, that was his like stigma. And he even said something about that. I think in an article later, he felt as though he was going to be typecast into being the stereotypical asshole in every movie.
He is for the majority, but I have seen some things that he's not the asshole.
Cabin in the Woods. I think he's in Handmaid's Tale.
He's kind of an asshole in Cabin in the Woods.
He's kind of an asshole.
Kind of an asshole in Handmaid's Tale too.
Yeah. But I mean, I know he's in those. I don't watch Handmaid's Tale, but it's but I know like
West Wing.
I was about to say
West
you
Wing?
watched the West Wing.
Yeah,
and
West Wing is where it's
He's
at.
not an asshole in West Wing.
Yeah.
I can't help but think about Billy Madison.
Yes. Yep.
I've only seen Billy Madison like one time.
Want to touch the hind?
So
we might have to add that to the
Yeah,
old
it's
list.
not
That might
one
be a
of
fun one
our
to
like
revisit.
repeat viewing.
Yeah, I mean, I could lose some people with this, but I'm not the biggest Adam Sandler fan. So
I don't think you lose too many people.
No,
with that one.
No, not really. Not too many.
He either makes you laugh or he doesn't. For some reason, he makes most of the time. Let's I'm tempering this, but
he's about 50-50 for me. Like he's like Will Ferrell.
I was
like, I either love Will Ferrell or hate Will Ferrell.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was about to go. He's the him and Will Ferrell are like the same thing. You're either Yeah, it's kind of like Guinness and Jaeger. You either like it or don't. There is no middle of the ground there, so you don't.
Well, and I also really like both of those serious roles.
Yes,
that they've each taken.
Yes,
they do really well in them.
Yeah.
I like
yeah. So anyway, Bradley Whitford,
aka douchebag,
who's surprisingly not really in the movie that much. I forgot that he was in it very little, but so yeah, he comes and cancels his date or their date, and she was looking forward to it. His sister is sick, and he's got to take care of her. All this hoopla, from the moment he says something that he's completely given her a line. Yeah. And we find out later that he absolutely is, but
sure.
So she's very let down. We meet Brenda, who's Chris's friend. She's a little bit of a drama queen, I would have to say.
I mean, she's got some issues.
A little bit.
But
she runs away from home. Yeah. She only had enough money for the Uber. And then
Uber did not exist then, Eric.
It was called a taxi. For all you people listening nowadays, we used to have these things called taxis that would take you from point A to point B.
So yeah, she's an idiot. She's the cause of all this stuff.
But she's an idiot. But she hit the nail on the head. She said he's lying to you.
Yeah.
Right there from the beginning.
She's got him figured out from the get-go, just like we do. But in order to take her mind off things, she gets a babysitting job for the night. She goes to babysit some kids that I believe she's babysat for previously, because we find out that Brad and Sarah, who she's going to babysit, Brad has a crush on her. Mm-hmm. And Sarah, who we've already talked about briefly with Thor, she's obsessed with Thor. She's a little hellfire running around the house on her roller skates.
The kid's awesome.
Dressed up as Thor with the Thor helmet. She's got Mjolnir in her hand. I mean, she's all out. Drawing Thor in her bedroom, which I have to say, she's a pretty good little artist.
Dude,
yeah.
She definitely didn't draw that. And there's some nice Kirby art on the wall too.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. Today, if that happened, she would be the coolest kid in school.
Yeah.
I mean, back then they looked, oh, you're a comic book nerd. Now you're the cool kid because you got all that stuff on the wall. It's worth tons of money. So you're looking towards your future. You got 401k all around you.
Well, in 1987, that wasn't the case because Brad thinks Thor is a homo.
Yeah, that didn't age
tough
well.
look.
Yeah,
from my guy Brad.
Tough look, Brad.
Yeah. Now Brad is Keith Coogan, and was he? He was the one that was in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, right?
Which is, if I had to choose between these two, I would love that movie better.
I also love that movie
because it's been a long time since I've seen Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
The dishes are done, man.
Right.
I love that. That's my favorite thing from him in any movie he does. Is just that. So, but he moves on. And Brad's obviously finds out that Chris is coming. I'm so in love with my babysitter type thing. She's how much older do you think she is? I mean, I think she's
a senior.
He's a freshman. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
He's 15. She's 17.
Right. What I just before we get too far, I want to say I don't know if you've ever had a babysitter. I don't know if you ever had a girlfriend. I don't know if you ever had a babysitter that you had a crush on. I certainly did. I mean, I had I was probably like at 10 or something, and I don't remember anyone specifically.
The first time you started feeling things for girls, Eric?
Well, just little crushes.
This funny feeling in my pants.
You'd have some high school. You'd have some, high school girl come over, and she's pretty high school girl, and you're just like, I mean, you just fall for her immediately because she's older and she's cool and she's a teenager, and you just, I mean those feelings are.
Oh yeah.
Like I can kind of relate to Brad here, and just knowing he has no chance, and it's just like pining over some girl. I think for the same reason Jenny can relate to the girl dancing in her room and excited about a date coming up. I can relate to the kid that that likes his babysitter that has no chance. No.
Well, I relate to Brad too. Not that I had crushes on my babysitters, but I mean, I was boy crazy from the time that I was a very small child. I just was. And like my cousin's friends, he would get to bring a friend down to the beach for the summer. Like when they would visit us.
Oh, you've told me this story.
And I mean, there were a couple of different ones over the years, but they were like older. They were, Brad is he's like 4 years older than me, I think, something like that. So they were always, much older, but man, I was crazy about them. And I just thought, like, one day they're just going to see.
Brad is not supposed to be part of the babysitting job tonight. He's supposed to be going to stay with his friend, Daryl.
Good old Daryl.
Oh,
Daryl
he's so much
sucks.
fun.
I like that Daryl shows up and he knows that Brad is pining over her. And so it instantly becomes, oh no, Brad says, no, I'm staying here. And he's like, oh, I know she's here now. So like, he just starts ribbing him about her being there. We've jumped ahead a little bit because Sarah plays a dirty trick on Brad and has him almost like profess his love for Chris right in front of her, although he can't see her.
His love
I think that's
poems.
a pretty good little like I really like Sarah. When we're introduced to her, I think she is a good character to kind of help carry us through the movie, but I will have some trouble with Sarah a little later that we'll get into. But
Gonna have a hot take later?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. I have a guess of what you might say, but I don't think it's necessarily the actress's fault. I think she does a good job.
I will go ahead and say it's not something to do with the acting or the actress. It's
That's my
something
guess.
That happens later, but
and then we're also brought up. I think is this the part where we're brought up with the first mention of the Playboy centerfold thing?
Yeah, I believe Daryl brings that up.
It says, "Dude, it totally looks like her." And I read a fun fact about that. She did do a faux photo shoot for that and everything, but everybody thought it was real, I guess, back in the day, that she had really posed nude for Playboy. But
when they show the Playboy, it's obvious that it's Elizabeth Shue.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Well, I mean, obvious. Maybe you watch this on 4K. I watched it.
Josh has it on 4K if it's available, people. He has.
I watched it.
No, it's not.
And I was like, yeah, I think that is her. They just put her in there, but yeah, it's true. It's her in the magazine. I wasn't totally sure. I Googled it just to be sure. It's also worth noting that Brad spills the pasta. And I just wanted to say that he overcooked the shit out of that pasta. That pasta looked like it was boiling for like an hour. I mean, it was
very fluffy.
Oh God. I mean, Brad, you are a child because you don't know how to cook pasta properly. You don't deserve a woman of her caliber.
Did anybody notice what the kids were watching on the TV?
Halloween, bitches.
Oh, was it? I didn't even notice.
It was put there intentionally.
Yeah,
by Deborah Hill, I assume.
Yeah, they're sitting there watching. They said there's something on TV, and they're sitting there, and you can hear it. Ding, ding.
Yeah, you can hear the score in the background, and I was like, they're watching Halloween.
Dude,
and all of a sudden it cuts over to the TV, and you can see Halloween playing on the TV.
Wow, I'm kind of mad I missed that. I'm mad at myself.
I'm mad at you for missing that, Eric. We're gonna have a discussion
you.
later. We're having a discussion, taking this outside.
I do like the friendship that Brad and Daryl have. Now, however, when Daryl comes to the door and starts talking to Brad, he is very close to his face. Like you could stick your finger in his nose. I was like, is he leaning in to give him a smooch? Like they were pretty close talking to each other.
Trying to force his way inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Chris was there. I mean, I've known Josh a long time, and I don't think I've ever had a nose-to-nose conversation with Josh because I like him that much.
Not one you'll admit to, anyway.
Well, we already know about the cuddling and spooning that you guys did out on the beach, so.
On the beach now. This story is growing.
Yeah, I mean.
Where do you live, Eric?
This is a choose your own adventure story here.
Let them profess their love.
I like when Brad tells Daryl to leave and he goes back and Chris is like, who's at the door? Stray dog. Which comes back later, and I think that's a pretty good comedic hit right there. But so we get this call from Brenda, and she's ran away from home. And she's at is it the train station?
Bus station.
Bus station, okay. So she only had enough money to get a taxi to the bus station. She obviously hasn't thought this through very well. But what gets me about this scene is a lot of it is believable, but then you've got the guy staring at her, waving the gun at her.
And he keeps flashing the gun like, hey, look what I got.
Yeah.
The guy with the gun is hysterical. That was so funny to me. I don't know. All he does is just brandish this gun through the whole movie. Anytime anyone looks at him, he just wags it around.
I'd be more worried about the bum who wanted his Spam and his shoes back. The guy with the gun was my least of the worries. So I noticed it when he said, "Get out of my house," and you look down, it's his house shoes and a can of Spam and some stuff. And she pushes it,
and she kicks it out, and she says, "You've moved.
You just moved." I love that.
But it's all because of Brenda. We get our whole movie. It's all her freaking fault. It's all Brenda's fault.
She needs Chris's help.
Well, you could say that, or you could say that Chris should never have brought these kids along and told Brenda, "Call your parents."
Yeah.
Let's have a good debate about this. Whose fault is it, Chris's or Brenda's?
It's Chris's fault. Chris is a bad babysitter.
Well, Brenda sets things in motion, but yes, Chris makes a bad decision, I would say. For
a
sure.
number of bad decisions.
Yes. So,
and that's why we have a movie.
Right.
Yes.
But let's get to some of these bad decisions. So Daryl doesn't go home. He decides he's going to tag along for the ride. His comment to Chris is a little problematic.
Daryl's a little problematic.
Daryl is quite problematic.
Daryl is one problematic thing after another.
Yeah, when he decides he's going to go tell his parents, she's like, "Well, what do I do?" And Sarah says, "Get in the car, run him over." Like, her delivery of that is great. Yeah, I love it.
That was perfect comedic timing.
Awesome. But Chris's stipulations to him going, and if you do anything, you're going to be dead, murdered, stabbed. And of course, his rebuttal is raped. Like, come on, dude.
I had no idea what that was.
Rape
when
humor.
I watched this movie.
You gotta love rape humor, am I right?
No idea.
There's so much of it in the 80s, man. It's crazy.
Well,
Absolutely
you can forgive certain things, especially coming out of what is clearly an idiotic teenage boy, right?
True.
Like you have to understand where it's coming from, that kind of stuff. And yes, 80s movies are chock full of things like this that we can't say anymore and don't want to say. But yeah, I mean, he's, as we go, we'll talk about all the crazy shit he does and says.
Yeah.
I
think it is clever once they get on the road, though, and they start going. Chris is telling her story, trying to scare Sarah, the guy with the hook for a hand. Scrape, scrape, scrape. Yeah. I think all the delivery of that is really good.
What a coincidence.
Yeah. Yes. And this is where we also see the Playboy, and we start to see the pictures of who they think is, a girl who looks a lot like Chris, whatever. But yeah, I love that.
And then they throw it out the window.
Yeah, and they throw it out the window. It's crazy how much this Playboy actually plays a big part in the plot of this movie as well.
Was Playboy a sponsor? I'm thinking Hugh Hefner was behind this movie.
Well, you talk product placement. You had Captain Crunch, you had Playboy, you had Jif Peanut Butter,
Thor,
you had,
Marvel,
Clearasil.
Clearasil, yeah. You had there was one other one. Oh yeah, the Crunch Bar. You had the Crunch Bar for a while.
You got no chocolate. You got keep an eye on your acne.
Your acne. Brutal.
That's so embarrassing.
Brutal.
Yes.
Yeah, you gotta love moms. They're just no filter. They're just gonna embarrass you right in front of the hot chick all the time.
So what's the guy with the hook for the hand? What's his name?
Pruitt.
Handsome John Pruitt.
Handsome John Pruitt. How do we feel about Handsome John Pruitt?
I love this guy. I love this guy. I love his sense of humor when he stops to help them out. Like, you think he's a creepy guy, like, well, but then you find out, like, Chris tells him her story. Hey, we had a blowout. I got these kids. We're trying to help a friend, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I help it. But then you see the whole hook hand thing. So you know that the story she just told in the car is definitely going to play into the minds of the kids immediately. So you're like, okay, they laid out the groundwork for the hook hand immediately. But I love his, like, in the truck, dude, when he's driving, and was it Daryl's talking to him and tells a story about losing his hand under a truck. He was Daryl asked him that, did you lose it in Nam? And he says, no, I was changing a tire and it fell off and my hand just popped off. And then he said,
well, glove box.
Well, did you
keep it in the glove box?
Yeah, did you bury it? No, I kept it. Where's it at? It's over there in the glove box.
I could see a top 4 truck drivers from movies list.
Large Marge sent you.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah, I mean, Large Marge comes to mind, obviously. There's a lot of,
I mean, write that down.
Write that down. Top 4 trucker movies.
So here's where we start like this is where this movie starts to have problems for me. We're introduced to Pruitt, and they kind of turn this stereotype on its head. That she tells the story about the hook for the hand. The kids automatically get freaked out because he's got a hook for a hand. He turns out to be a good guy, and he's there to help them.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
well, he's an okay guy.
The next scene, he does a complete 180 and becomes a homicidal maniac.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a reason. That, like,
I mean,
Dawson hit him on the radio, said, "Hey, there's the car out front again," and I didn't know what was going on. But when he grabs the gun, they're freaking out. But dude, man was sleeping. His wife was cheating on him. He's gonna pop a cap in his ass. That's why he was going there.
Still a little problematic.
Well, he brings
you don't turn to murder.
Well, he decides to bring these kids with him to do this, which is a problem. And then he shoots in their direction.
Yeah.
So he's extremely reckless.
But he's got good driving skills, dude. The way he weaved through that traffic, dude. Y'all need to take notes while you're in Atlanta.
With that station wagon on the back.
Drive like Pruitt, dude. You'll get right through that Atlanta traffic, no problem.
But all this goes down. Dude goes through a window, gunfire in every direction. There's a stray bullet hits Chris's car window. So I mean, we're in the shit now.
This happens really fast.
It does.
You go from the car breaking down to running from a shootout really quickly.
Yeah.
And one thing that as far as the girl goes, and the little girl Sarah, she's kind of having a blast through all this, which keeps the vibe light, right? Because if she was terrified, this would be a horror film, right?
This is great.
Her being not scared through it and having fun, and that's what keeps the movie fun and lively, which is good. But I think they do that too often with her, where there is a point where a kid should become scared, and she is almost never scared.
Dude, I think it's because she idolizes Thor that much. Like, she wants to be a superhero, and superheroes aren't scared. They adapt to the situation. And I mean, she's got that whole mentality. So I think that's a lot of it.
But she's from Midgard, okay? She's not.
So you say.
But I mean, yeah, we'll get to her again later, because there's a particular point in this movie where, like, you have a good point there with Sarah, but I think it shifts very suddenly later, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. But in order to get away from all this, they duck into a car, and lo and behold, there's a carjacker.
Meet Joe
in the car.
Joe.
Carjacker Joe, and like the sequence of events just could not have happened any better, But every situation they get put in, they get put in more dangerous of a situation.
Mm-hmm.
Although gunfire is probably tippy top of that, but I mean, they're in the car with a carjacker. He pretty much lays it out on the line. Hey, I'm not going to hurt you. I'll take you here. Blah 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 blah. You kind of go along with him, but it doesn't change the fact that he's still breaking the law.
And taking them to like his illegal place
of
employment at the chop shop.
A chop shop.
I mean, he could have taken them somewhere else.
But he wasn't taking them to the mall. He said, fuck no. I ain't going to no damn mall.
Not going to the mall.
What do you think Joe has against malls?
There's no malls in that.
They don't have malls in the
city.
city.
He didn't want to drive that far.
Yeah,
that's a suburb thing.
That's a suburb thing. Okay.
Yeah, because this is supposed to take place in Chicago, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Even though they shot the movie in Canada, did y'all read that part?
Mostly Toronto.
Yeah, mostly Toronto. But the town was so clean, they had to put their own trash on the streets and hire somebody to keep the people of Toronto from cleaning it up behind them.
Oh my gosh,
man, this place is not as dirty as the United States. We got to dirty it up a little bit.
That's pretty bad when you got to bring your own trash to shoot a movie scene, and then you have to keep a guy out there because the people who clean the streets are like, "Oh, let me get that trash for you." No, leave it there. We paid money for that trash.
Well, Deborah Hill was used to that because, I mean, she had to bring leaves to California to make it look like fall time and Halloween. So.
Turn freaking Southern California into Haddonfield, Illinois. She's used to it. She's like, oh, I got this. I've been doing this for like 10 years now. I'm good. But
we get to this chop shop with all these gangster ass
guys. You're right. What did Joe think? He was trying to help them, but did he think that his boss, this total creeper, is gonna be okay with him bringing these kids back to?
Hell no.
I mean, he didn't really think that through, but he's a car thief. Maybe
I don't think
we're giving him too much credit. Okay.
Joe's paid to steal some nice Cadillacs. That's all he's paid for.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he obviously his heart is in the right place, but yeah, he hasn't thought about what he's doing by any means.
Mm-hmm.
Jason, did you get the actor's name who plays this creepy gangster guy?
I don't think I did, because I did look him up, but all the movies he was in was like older, like Eastwood and Western films.
Well, I tell you, like, he could have been cast as any creepy guy in a movie.
It's like a skeleton.
He is something else.
His character's name, I think, is Bleak.
His name is John Davis Chandler, and yeah, the character's name is Bleak, and he scared me when I was a kid.
Yeah,
he creeped me out for real.
His face, his teeth, the way he talked, yeah, it was a pretty creepy guy. They could have put him in as old man Marley, and it would have been a little more convincing. In Home Alone,
Take the Brady Bunch,
dude.
Upstairs.
Actually, dude, they could have put him in as the preacher in Poltergeist 2.
Yeah,
it probably would have went pretty good. That's there
true.
too.
Yeah, he's right in that wheelhouse of just creepy looking
guy.
Dude. Yeah. Oh well, I'm with you on that one.
So was them walking on the beam trying to get out of the warehouse, like, as a kid watching this, like, how did you feel about them escaping the car chop shop?
It still to this day seems impossible to me. Like, there's no way you're getting all those people across that beam without a mishap.
Right.
You know,
or
no
even
way.
like that's one thing that gets to me in movies nowadays is when people are having conversations, like her and Brad are whispering as they're walking across this beam. It's like, they're going to hear you. They're absolutely going to hear you.
Yeah, that shot from the ground shows how like obvious they are up there. But another terrible decision by the babysitter. Like, we're in a pickle here. Okay, we've got these people, but to put all the kids on the rafters and try to tiptoe across, like,
Sarah's probably hanging from the rafters.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, the parents even make the comment, and then it boom, and it's right over to them doing that. So
that is probably my favorite thing that comes from that scene is that little segue into that.
And again, we get the Playboy thing. Daryl steals the damn Playboy.
And this is where the Playboy becomes a major part of the story.
Yeah. Now it is the whole reason for everything other than Brenda.
Yeah.
Yep. Who they've kind of forgotten about at this point, I think.
Oh, well, there's more forgetting about Brenda later that we'll get into. But the one thing I do like from this scene is when the rust falls in the guy's coffee and he drinks the rust. That's fun.
Yeah.
It's old gross. Nasty rust.
You got your tetanus shot.
And then, but the entire explanation for this MacGuffin of the magazine is done in ADR in like a split second, and it's just the quickest line ever.
I wrote notes for the JoJo deal or some shit like that.
For the Philadelphia
deal.
Yeah, for the Philly deal.
That could put us away for 20 years. It's the quickest line during action outside in the dark, and you hear this line. Like, that's the only line that explains why they want this magazine so bad.
But I love the next scene. They sneak into the Blues Club to get away from them. And you got I think it's Albert Collins is playing, which is I mean, I grew up here in Texas. The man's from Texas.
Yes,
so I knew who he was. He actually recorded an album in Beaumont, which is just a few miles south of me. But cool. I mean, playing guitar, I didn't listen to him a lot, but I knew the name because I had a lot of family play guitar, and he was supposed to be the master of the Telecaster. That's
he has a rad telly in this movie as well that I wanted to show my son who plays guitar.
Oh, it's good. But the thing is you ain't leaving without singing the blues.
Nobody gets out of this place without singing the blues.
And that place must have it must be open, just like they don't close till dawn because they got to get everybody in there to sing the blues before they can leave. I mean, we want to close up, Albert.
I think as long as you're singing along, you're singing the blues. So if you're not there, if you're not into it, like the gangsters that come in at the end, they got to sing the blues before they leave.
It's also worth mentioning that the music in this movie is good, and there's a lot of great blues in it, and overall, like, the music throughout the movie is.
And you know who did the score? Michael Kamen.
Yep.
And he did a lot of movies, I guess, with
Die Hard.
Yeah, Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, but he's also responsible for Metallica S&M.
Boo.
I knew Josh was going to give me the boo on that one.
Oh boy.
But then we get to see Elizabeth Shue's horrible singing skills of the blues.
Yeah, I mean, how do we feel about this? I kind of want to talk about singing the blues because...
Dude, I got some notes.
I mean,
I really love it.
As a kid,
It's so cheesy.
As a kid, you absolutely are drawn into this.
100%. Yes.
But I have to say, watching it now, it was cringeworthy. Watching it now.
It is.
Like, it was bad.
I like it.
Yeah.
Words. Words. That's all we get. I'm like, that's a classic blues riff. I mean, Josh plays
Looking after these guys.
Nice.
Like, oh, it's just, ooh.
Yeah. White people do the blues.
I got the babysitting blues. Yeah. It's horrible. God,
no,
it's horrible.
I think it's great.
Yeah, I remember thinking like, well, I remember loving that scene as a kid, and that is a fun scene. But watching it this time, it was just like, what the fuck is going on? Why are they singing the blues? Why are they shooping? And the kids are dancing, and like they're running for their lives right now. They need to get out of here. Like,
yeah.
Oh, it's nuts.
Yeah.
But again, it also feels a little Back to the Future-y.
A little bit. Honestly, it was better when the Blues Brothers did it with Aretha Franklin. But
yes,
always. You can't really top that.
Yeah. When are we gonna do that movie? Can we do that movie?
Whenever we put it on the list, and we'll go.
That one.
So I mean, they eventually get out of there. It's a distraction, but they're still got these guys on their tail. But they catch them. They tell them they can't leave without singing the blues. And then we have a moment of downtime where
Daryl finds a prostitute.
Yeah.
A 17-year-old prostitute, nonetheless,
who they find has aged quite a bit.
Yeah.
Well, dude, all right, we got Elizabeth Shue, who says she's 17 in this movie. She looks 28.
Yeah.
Easily.
Because she was 20.
I think she
was like
dude.
23.
Yeah, because I liked it because that's what I'm thinking the whole entire time. She's way too old to play this character, and I love that the prostitute even asked her, "Well, how old are you?" or something like that. I'm like, touche.
But this is where we get a good moment between Brad and her, because I mean, everybody sees that her boyfriend Mike is a piece of crap.
Mm-hmm.
He's so cool.
Yeah, so cool. The license plate. We skipped over that. That's
I can't believe we forgot that because Jason has that same license plate. Don't you?
I do. I have that one.
It's so cool. License.
I got it on my new truck. That's what I rock.
But you have to kind of give Brad a little bit of a leg up here. I mean, at least he was able to profess like, hey, why wouldn't you give a guy like me a chance? I think that was especially like being a kid and like just the sheer fact of talking to an older girl when you're younger. Like I respect the fact that Brad just decided to say that to her. Probably not the best time to say it, but
timing.
Yeah.
You know what's
funny? I was going to wait to bring this up, but you're talking about a 15-year-old talking to a 17-year-old. That is a more appropriate relationship than a 17-year-old with a college kid.
Yeah.
As we see soon. And how old was Bradley Whitford? How old was Mike in this movie? He looked even older. I mean, he's already got a receding hairline, for God's sake.
Well,
she's in high school. She should be dating Brad over these other guys.
That's true.
Anyway,
the funny thing
clearly I'm a dad. I have a 15-year-old daughter, and clearly I have feelings about this film.
My 17-year-old daughter's not dating some guy that's in the frat. Sorry, it happening.
Not happening. But I don't care how nice he is. I don't care if he gives you $45.
That's true. But the funny thing about Keith Coogan, about the reason I want to bring it up, because Josh is talking about like him being kind of shot down. He got shot down in real life too.
Yeah,
he was actually had a total crush on Elizabeth Shue, and during the movie there was actually times that look on his face was kind of real when she chose the other guy later. But I read it that in an article that he actually mentioned something to her like at a dinner or something, and she kind of laughed.
Yeah, I read that. The way he described it was similar to in the movie.
The same laugh from the movie when she said
it. Like kind of like, oh, that that's ridiculous, kind of a which could be taken. In the movie, it doesn't seem like she's being rude to him. It's just, you're too young for me kind of a thing.
Yeah.
You're a babysitter, for God's sake. So, I don't know how it was in real life. Maybe it's you're not famous enough for me, or you're
no Ralph Macchio, bro. Sorry.
You're no Ralph Macchio.
Ralph Macchio's coming to pick her up later and taking her to the food and stuff. Or I'm sorry,
it's golf and stuff.
I got Parks and Rec on the brain.
Boy, this guy's in trouble.
All right, it's a good time to talk about some cast members.
Almost Famous.
I know that, dude.
I don't know them. I know her.
Haven't you ever heard of that guy? What's his name?
That guy who was in that movie that was out last year.
I'm sort of famous for being almost famous.
So, not a whole lot that I found here, but I mean, I wrote down Bradley Whitford.
No, he's famous.
Yeah, I mean, he's in the Handmaid's Tale now, and
He's an Emmy winner.
Yeah,
he's famous.
Yeah. So I'm thinking we might choose the same person here, but Eric, you're wiggling your finger, so let's hear what you got.
I'm gonna say, and I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but I'm gonna say Ron Canada or Canada. I don't know how you say it.
Who is that?
I actually Googled.
That's
the black guy that's chasing the kids the whole time.
You know, I wanted to write him down, but I never got around to researching him.
Yeah, his name's Graydon, but
Graydon.
He's been in a ton of. I actually looked up how to pronounce his name because it's spelled Canada, but I don't. Who knows? You know, names are
Canada.
Weird, I could not find the pronunciation of his name, so sorry, Rob, if I'm saying your name wrong. I know you're a listener. But he was in Wedding Crashers, National Treasure, the Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. But no, really what we know this guy from is television. He's been in a shit ton of television House of Cards. I'm just scrolling through. Other things, Boston Legal, Law and Order, Ugly Betty, Bones, Stargate, Seventh Heaven, Weeds. I mean, he's West Wing. He's another West Wing person.
Well, that's the thing about a lot of the character actors in this is a lot of them are TV actors. Even at the time, I mean, Bradley Whitford was in some movies in the 80s, but went on to do a lot more TV. He's still doing TV today. And the guy that I wrote down was the guy who played Daryl, Anthony Rapp.
I have that one too.
He is a big theater guy. He's done a lot of theater. I think he may have even actually won a Tony.
He was in Rent.
He was in Rent. He was actually in the movie Rent, I believe. But I know him most from Dazed and Confused. He was the one of the two nerdy guys, the guy who ends up with the freshman girl at the end.
Yeah.
So, and which is a very big departure from this to Dazed and Confused, because he looks much older in Dazed and Confused than he does here. And he's not a redhead in that either. He's long blonde hair in Dazed and Confused also. But I mean, that was the guy that I chose. Does anybody have anybody else? I mean, I couldn't really find anybody else. I mean, you got Penelope Ann Miller, but she's been in a good handful of things. Like I instantly recognized her. Although I can't tell you anything she's been in right off the top of my head.
No, I recognize her from Kindergarten Cop, but other than that, she really doesn't have a long list of things.
That's it, Kindergarten Cop.
The Artist, Carlito's Way, The Shadow, The Relic.
I wrote down who we're going to meet later, the character of Dan, George Newbern. He was in both of the Father of the Bride movies.
That's a good one.
Yes.
And me being a comic book fan, he is the voice of Superman / Clark Kent in a lot of the Justice League DC movies. And I think he even did it in the series too for like 4 years.
Yes.
Now, who is this? Who was this in this movie?
George Newbern. That's Dan, the one she meets later. The one that she
okay, gotcha.
The guy at the end.
That's a good one, Jason. I'm going to side with Jason on that one. That's great.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I mean, those DC animated movies are great. I mean, I love them because I'm a comic book fan. But I think the DC animated movies are better than some of the Marvel animated movies.
Oh, they are for sure.
But Marvel,
I won't even watch the
better.
Marvel animated ones, but I'll watch some of the.
Marvel's got the live action, DC's got the animated for sure.
That's for sure. Yeah. So that's where when I heard him talking in this movie, like I said, I don't remember this movie from a kid. It was like 20, 30 years ago. When he started talking, I was like, oh my God, his voice. And then when I looked him up, I was like, that's what it's from.
Kal-El?
That's Kal-El. So I was like, oh my God, that man's famous. He's Superman. But that's who I had. So
you shouldn't have brought that up, because now I really want to talk about Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League.
Don't open that can of worms.
Yeah, dude, you open that, we're gonna be here for 5 hours.
Almighty.
Jenny, did you have any almost famous people, or have we talked about?
The only thing that I was thinking about for Almost Famous was to tell you that Bradley Whitford is famous. Because I knew you were going to say it, and it's just not true.
At the time, I had written his name down because literally, like, I couldn't find anybody else in the movie that I would have kind of nominated for Almost Famous. But after digging a little bit, like there's I mean, I'm sticking with Anthony Rapp. You guys can have
that
your
George Newburn's a great one.
Yeah, I'm going either one of those two. I think is.
I'm sure I've seen him in some other movies as well. The George Newbern guy.
I like recognizing voice actors. They don't get enough credit. So.
Well,
give it to George.
Okay, I don't think there's any other place in this podcast for me to say this, so I'm gonna say it now.
Do it, Jenny.
I love Bradley Whitford. Like
as an actor,
for
sure. Oh, as an actor.
He is my number one side character of all time. Like side actor who plays not the lead role.
Yeah, I have to say,
so good
I'm
in
with you.
everything.
Yeah,
consistency. That man is so good in everything. Yeah,
love him.
He is.
I mean, even though like the character he plays in The Handmaid's Tale is hard to side with, but he's one of those characters in that show, and his performance pulls off what that character is about in that show for me. Like he is very good as that character. Yeah, I really like Bradley Whitford too. I've seen him in quite a few things. I've never watched.
Of course.
Yep,
yeah, Get Out. There you go.
Yep.
He's great in that. He would have voted for Obama a third term if he could have. But and Cabin in the Woods, like he kind of had this little resurgence in movies there, where he showed up in that crazy part in Cabin in the Woods, where that kind of threw everybody. And I think he carries that movie very well, along with the other actor. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but
Richard Jenkins.
Jenkins, there you go.
I love that guy. I didn't want to skip without saying his name because
he's
also amazing.
Yeah, he's another side character that shows up in all kinds of things, and he's great in all kinds of stuff. So, but
they're running to the train. And
we're getting on the train. This is one of our only Chicago scenes, like actual Chicago scenes.
I think we cut to Brenda another time before we get.
Oh
here.
when she finds the kitty
between the hooker who ran away from home.
Yeah,
we shouldn't say hooker, sex worker.
Sex worker, please.
And she ran away from home. And it's like, oh my God, Brenda! Like we forgot. Like they actually did forget about.
Yeah, because she had her glasses stolen by the other lady at the thing, and she thinks she finds a kitty in the corner.
Yes,
I thought it was going to be a possum. For
That's
some
what
reason, I couldn't remember what it was.
But I went a possum in Chicago, I don't know, or even Toronto.
That's another classic moment from this film, though. I think for me, it's the Thor thing and the rat.
That's a jumbo-sized sewer rat.
But we go from that to the subway, which is like it instantly turns in.
It's the L.
The L. Oh, the L. Okay, I'm sorry. The L, but it instantly turns into the Beat It video.
Yep.
This is great. I love this scene.
This scene plays for comedy a lot better than the Singing the Blues scene for me. But again, like we're in a very dangerous situation. Like there is never a moment where these kids are not in peril. Like they could have died at any given moment in this movie. So, and they kind of make light of that. And watching it now, I almost wonder, like, if this movie were made today, would they go this extreme with some of the stuff that they encounter?
No way. You can't make this movie today.
Well, you absolutely can't make this movie today.
No. Also, it's about to be like Snowpiercer up in this train. Like these dudes are ready to just completely go. Like they're willing to die right now on this train.
Yep.
Don't fuck with the Lords of Hell.
Don't fuck with the babysitter. God,
that's a good quote.
And
win my heart.
It should be said, PG-13, 2 F-bombs within 30 seconds of one another.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, you gotta love the 80s.
I actually really like the L scene and the exchange there, but I think the gang kind of lets her get off a little too easy because they get off the train and like
nobody chases them.
I feel like they would have chased her out of there for sure. Yeah. Plus, she steals one of their switchblades and just kind of tosses it aside.
Yeah, I kept wondering if a guy was going to run out and grab the knife and hop back on the train, you know? Because they've still got a gang war to fight,
Yep.
you know?
They're waiting for Michael Jackson to show up. So. so they could throw down.
Yeah, they're just gonna dance.
Yeah, dance
They're
fight.
just gonna dance in there. They weren't gonna do any harm.
Okay, I don't understand how this works, and I think about it more often than I should.
Okay, lay it out.
Are you talking about writing the check forward?
Yeah, Chris's mom wrote her a check.
Wrote Chris a check or wrote Brenda a check?
Wrote Chris a check because she bought her something. She can't remember what.
Jenny has it down.
Chris bought Brenda some press-on nails, signed the check over to her. She paid Chris the difference. So now Brenda is going to sign the check over to the hot dog person, and he gives her the hot dog.
Yeah, there's no way any of this works.
Yeah, I don't know.
No.
It's just like,
I think it does work because if
times,
if the check is written for cash, it's not written to someone. It's just, or it is, but it's written out as just cash, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it does work, but I don't know exactly. Yeah. So they've already been in a chop shop. They've been in a gunfight. They've been in a gang fight. They've been in the rafters. They've almost fallen and died.
They've been in the blues.
They've been in the blues bar.
Yep.
That was the safest place they were ever at. They should have stayed there. So Brad's got a boo-boo. They carry him to the hospital.
They do.
One stitch.
He gets one stitch.
One stitch.
That he thought was going to be so, it was going to impress Chris that he took a knife for her, and he gets one stitch. He's not a man. He gets one
This
stitch.
is also a fairly smart comedic play here, where they say the person with the stab wound is dead. And then they're looking for their friend with the stab wound. Oh, he didn't make it.
Your friend is dead.
We're at the hospital, and all of a sudden we get Mr. Pruitt is back.
With the guy with the Cadillac that was stolen.
Yeah, with the Cadillac. He's looking for his car. He thinks the kids have stolen his car. So the fact that this comes back is also smart, but Mr. Pruitt has also continued to be even more of a homicidal maniac. And but still, like,
he helps the kids.
He still helps the kids, but they play it off very lightheartedly, like he's not trying to murder somebody. These are the things that I just happen to notice watching.
Or is he just running at this point?
Yeah, he is a fugitive from the law.
But he fixed the windshield that he shot, and he said he's basically sorry about that. But now they have to pay for the tire, and it's going to cost them $50.
It is pretty funny.
$50.
Yeah, it is pretty funny that he. Oh, I shot the windshield out. That's totally on me. I fixed that. Like, I think that's pretty funny. But you're gonna have to pay the $50 for the tire.
Okay,
Yeah,
Josh,
he's a man of his word.
How much does that windshield cost? You have some into this.
Well, here's the other issue I have with this movie. None of this would have happened. None of this would have happened. You would not have gotten a tire fixed this late at night.
It's the city.
It is.
It does not matter.
Here's the thing. Okay, wait.
You would not have gotten a windshield replaced at that time of night. Well, they don't know. They don't say how much it costs, but still, regardless.
Here's the thing. In this movie, the city is its own character. It's this fabled, dangerous place where anything can happen. You know, her mom's going to kill her if she drives the car into the city. And then every event after that just kind of reinforces this idea that the city is a big bad.
And anyone in the city is like, oh, you're not from the city, are you? Like, the city, quote unquote, is is this sort of mythical place.
Okay. All I got to ask is what everything Jenny just said. Can we go back and get the movie guy voiceover? In a city where the city, because exactly how she said it, I pictured her with that voice through the whole thing. It was awesome.
Chicago. This city is a character in its own.
I'm telling
where
you,
mythical things happen.
Jenny, one babysitter. I love it, Jenny.
One babysitter. 3 kids.
One desire.
One adventure.
One is always
I also
horny.
like that Sarah, when they're going into the city, Sarah proclaims that that's where Thor lives, and all the superheroes live in the city. So that does play into your idea of that, and I see where you're coming from, but still, in the reality of nothing would have gotten fixed.
Nothing about this movie is reality.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's just
we'll just shut that down right now.
Yeah, and she clearly doesn't read Thor because Thor, I don't think ever lived in Chicago, did he?
Nah.
Not that I recall.
It's just the city.
Well, he was and it depends on how far back in the comics you go. He was a human man who was given.
Well, I know, but even then, maybe I'm speaking out of turn here. I got to do my own research, but that's irrelevant.
From here we start walking through the city, and sounds like a party, looks like a party,
must be a party.
Must be a party. You got Daryl, being a douchebag for the 18th time in this movie, decides to go over to the Kappa party. And for someone who's such a nerd and kind of giving Brad a bunch of shit throughout this movie, like you think he would be on the same level as Brad, but they're at this college party and he's full on making out with a college girl. Like he's getting lucky. And like,
well, Brad's only got got eyes for one girl here. So.
Yeah, man.
Well, I agree. So
he's a woman.
I mean, Daryl is let's be honest, taking advantage of a even though she's older, she's clearly very
inebriated.
I think she's taking advantage of him.
I don't think.
Well, yes,
it's a bit of both.
Not a good situation.
It's a bit of both. But again, we've completely forgotten about Brenda, who is the whole reason we're in the city, trying to save Brenda's life, essentially. Mm-hmm. She's in danger. She's talked about somebody with a gun. Mm-hmm. And Elizabeth Shue just wants to take some time to do a little dancing with a guy she just met.
I think they genuinely
Sarah's
do.
got to pee.
Well, yeah,
remember, that was the thing.
There's
Sarah
a
had
line.
to pee. They found a house. And these guys think, again, back to the Playboy, that she's the Playboy centerfold again. From across the room, they're like, dude, it's her.
But I think they also genuinely forget about Brenda a couple of times.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
But they don't have their car at this point, so it doesn't really make sense for them to be worried about Brenda. They need to get some sort of transportation to get home. So it's easy to see that they could get lost in all of this and lose Brenda throughout this process. Because, Eric, you brought it up earlier. I mean, the only thing Brenda's got to do to get out of this situation is call her goddamn parents.
Yeah.
And
she's really not their responsibility at all.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris is being a good friend, but Chris ultimately, like, even though she made a bad decision, she's got to do what's right for her and her situation right now.
Yeah.
So, but she meets, what's the character's name?
Dan
the man.
The unforgettable Dan.
The unforgettable Dan. He's very charming. Mm-hmm. And doesn't really. I like the way he plays off his buddies who think she is the Playboy model, and he's like, "Really, guys, do you think she's going to be here on a Saturday night or whatever it is?" So I ultimately like him in the movie. I still think he's a college kid. She's a senior. That's a little problematic for me.
Senior's fine. 17's not fine.
Right.
Correct.
Right. But she gives him the sob story. They need $50 to get their car. How they know where Dawson's garage is, I have no idea. But he's able to scrape together $45 and give it to her, and takes them to get their car. Yeah. This is where Chris also makes a bad decision, because why wouldn't you have him wait until all this is over with?
Exactly,
dude. Yeah.
Like,
Then they get to there with the Jeep and everything. But then the thing right there in that one scene right before we hop into the Jeep is you see Brad in the corner, and he's just like, I have no chance with this girl.
Yeah.
I'm done. I need to give up. You know, he really doesn't, but yeah, he sees her with another college guy. He's 15 years. He said, I can't compete with that. So
yeah, I mean, it's heartbreaking for Brad throughout this, but I mean,
yeah, what do you expect? I mean, it's not going to happen. It never was.
Right. I mean, how could they have ever played it that way? Like, I'm never throughout this movie am I hoping that she turns to Brad.
Right.
Because for some reason that still just seems a little creepy to me, but
yeah.
But I can understand where he's coming from. It's just that, this was never going to happen for him. No. Even though 2 years is not really that big of a span, but we are talking high school kids here.
Yeah.
So Dawson's Garage. Our first glimpse of Vincent D'Onofrio.
I love that guy. That guy
was this before Full Metal Jacket?
I think it was at the same time. I think they both came out. Yeah, you said Full Metal
But
Jacket
he's
earlier.
so slender in this.
I know, like that's what I'm saying. Like
Dude,
he is,
but
he's got more weight on him in Full Metal Jacket. I know you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he was in shape for something else, or maybe he got in shape for this role. I don't know. But he's like so thin. I mean, it's crazy.
Maybe he shot this movie and then went on a strict diet of donuts. I don't know. Jelly
Who knows?
donuts.
Apparently, Jared Leto melted pints of ice cream and drank it to get fat to play the guy who shot Lennon.
That is a notorious Hollywood trick.
That's gross.
Yeah.
But,
melt ice cream and just drink it.
Yeah, you microwave the ice cream and just drink it. That's apparently how they put on weight and whatnot. But
interesting.
So Dawson's Garage. Again, this is a fun scene. I like it, but again, like I'm just thinking about the fact that it's close to midnight. Nobody would be at a garage in the city this time. Like, there's no way they're getting their car. But I think Vincent D'Onofrio like fits the part here. Like, when I was a kid, I had no problem believing that this guy could have been Thor.
Oh yeah.
He's
even got the hammer. He's got that big mallet.
The most horrible blonde wig ever in a movie. It is bad.
But it is kind of sad, and like Sarah is devastated when he's not friendly to them.
Yeah.
And it sort of makes her heart sink a little bit. You kind of feel that in the moment, and I think that's why it sticks with you as a kid watching that scene, is because, you know, there's this whole little exchange between the two of them. But
never meet your heroes.
Right.
I don't know, but she doesn't give up on him. I mean, she is telling him, you are Thor, and the reason that you're not feeling it is you don't have your helmet. And that was cool, because she was trying to he didn't have his helmet with the wings on. She mentions that he's just wearing a ball cap. He needs to have his helmet. That's why she gives him the helmet, so he can.
She melts his cold heart.
Yeah, and you can see that look on his face. He went from being a total ass to these kids for over $5, which is really nothing. But
maybe that's where the little juxtaposition of the scene happens, is maybe he is just someone who's looking for, like, they're asking for a handout. They're trying to give him $45 for a job that he did that he expects $50 for.
Yeah.
But this kid's willing to give over something that's precious to her, to him, kind of melts his heart a little bit. And that's a fun little scene. And again, like, as a kid, I think that's why that scene sits with us, and is why we remember this movie for certain things. And that's definitely one of them for me.
Yeah. And off screen, this mechanic can't pay rent this month and is kicked out onto the street because he didn't get that $5.
That extra $5.
Well, he actually he's Mr. Dawson. He owns the garage. So
is he?
He is.
Yeah, he's Dawson.
That's why he's there. That's where I was going to tell you the loophole in you saying not being there.
Dawson.
He lives upstairs, dude. He lives at the garage because
he comes down the little press, the hydraulic lift.
The hydraulic lift, yeah. So that's why he can do windshields at 11:30 at night and fix tires, because he lives there. He's got.
You think he turned the lights on?
Right?
No, that's extra electricity, dude. He's running slim, bro. Come on, I'm going to knock down all these. I'm going to make it where these.
I love it.
It's going to happen, dude. That windshield and tire got fixed that night because
he just had that windshield laying around for that exact model of car.
Exactly. I mean, that was Josh never had that problem. The windshields were always there.
But one of our biggest problems that has happened throughout the movie is their car's messed up. They have to get their car back. They finally get their car. So instantly it's time to go. At this point, I don't even know if they still have realized that they've got to go get Brenda.
They have.
They have?
Yeah, they say, what time is it? It's 11:41. They have time to go get Brenda and go home.
But on the way to Brenda's, we notice the license plate. So cool. Mm-hmm. The only way that license plate would be any cooler is if it said "So Cool Brewster." You're so cool, Brewster.
I love that movie.
We haven't talked Fright Night yet. That's got to happen one day. Oh, yes. So, of course, Mike is at the restaurant with another girl from high school. Mm-hmm. I have to, and forgive me for being this way, but I have to say, like, a girl that holds no candle to Elizabeth Shue.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why would Mike
Well, they say
abandon Chris for this girl.
She's a sleaze.
Well,
She's
easy.
He made that comment about Chris's knees. Those knees are locked. Nothing's happening. You know,
right?
That was the whole reason. He's a
douchebag.
He's a piece of shit.
What a piece of shit.
Absolutely. You've got Sarah noticing a toy store when they stop at the restaurant, and this is where I brought up earlier where Sarah's character kind of takes a turn for me, and I think it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, we've gone through this whole movie through dangerous situations, this, that, and the other, and then now that we're almost to our destination, she decides to run off to a toy store. Like, that decision makes no sense to me. I understand she's a child. I understand that she's obsessed with toys and Thor and all of that stuff, but after everything you've been through tonight, why would you leave the side of your brother and your babysitter to run down the street to a toy store? Like,
I have the answer to this.
He's got it.
Okay, give it to me.
I'm going to explain this all to you very simply. Kids are dumb. Kids are dumb. Kids do dumb stuff. That's why you have a babysitter. And guess who's not watching the kids?
Yeah,
Chris.
Because her douchey boyfriend and blah, blah, blah. She made another terrible decision. She's too focused on this boyfriend. She has her car. She can get these kids home safely after everything's happened, but she still has to go confront her boyfriend in the middle of the restaurant. It's a joke. Brad sissies out. Should have clocked that dude. He sissies out. Daryl kicks him in the ass.
Daryl has no problem doing it though. Kicks him across the damn restaurant.
But yeah, I mean, kids are dumb and they do dumb stuff, and she's up past her bedtime. She's not thinking straight. She just met Thor.
Well, this leads to the chop shop guys finding her on the road and trying to lure her into the car, and she runs off, sees her dad's building, and starts jetting towards it. Here's another problem I have. She sees this building. She's like, Dad's building. And she starts running towards that building is a good 6 miles away. And she gets there in the snap of a finger. Yeah. Everybody does. And it's like that shot of the building, you can tell that building is more than a few blocks away. And the movie magic just has to play a point there, but still, like, it bothers me. So, but let's talk quotes.
You're going to need a bigger quote.
All right, I think we've all kind of been holding back and even brought up a couple of these at this point, but let's talk some quotes. Jason, what were the taglines for Adventures in Babysitting?
Okay, let me see. Taglines. Got them a little rusty here, but I did find a couple. Got two. You got a lifetime of fun in just one night.
Good.
How do you feel about that one?
Better than some that we've heard so far.
And I think this one was actually on the movie poster because this sounded familiar. She thought babysitting was easy money until she started hanging out with the Andersons.
Not at all their fault, but yeah.
I like the first one better, honestly.
Well, it does seem that, like, they have a reputation.
Yeah, because even Brenda made a kind of a comment about, like, oh, we're going to do the Andersons.
But none of this is their fault at all.
No, it's not.
But, like, they have, their reputation precedes them.
But Chris also did not want to go babysit that night either.
No.
I mean, she just wanted to sit around and be depressed, in her own words.
Well, before we do a quote, does anybody remember the other name of this movie?
Oh, I feel like I know it, but I can't think of it.
Because in foreign releases, it was not called Adventures in Babysitting until it was released on VHS.
Give it to us.
A Night on the Town.
Duh.
Brutal. Turd.
Awful.
But yeah,
not going to see that movie.
Yeah, in the UK when it was released in theaters, that's what they got until on VHS. Then it was Adventures in Babysitting.
Get that shit out of here.
Yeah. But quotes. Come on, guys. What you got for quote?
All right, who's going? Jenny, you go first.
You think?
For a split second there, I thought you were asking me a question. Okay, Eric, quotes?
Yes, I've got a good handful.
I have more, but
Chris, I'm begging you. It's really scary here. I've just seen 3 people shoot up, a bald Chinese lady with no pants on, and there's this old guy outside who wants his bedroom slippers. That's one. I'll do another one. Hey, lay off. He's just a kid, you big dumb bohunk. Now, I've never heard that word before.
Neither have I.
I had to Google it because I I've never heard it. A bohunk is a word for an immigrant from Central or Southeastern Europe, especially a laborer, a rough or uncivilized person. So I think maybe that's not the greatest of terms.
I think not.
Who came up with these insults?
Jason, you got anything?
I got a couple here. When they get to the chop shop, I like danger. You should try babysitting. And then they had a back and forth in the car. Says, "We'll get home safe." What about Brenda? That was her parents' mistake. So basically,
I forgot about that one.
Her parents failed her. That's why she ran away from home. And then the one I liked at the end was, when we get to the end of the movie, they're asking how fast her parents drive. We'll go 80. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, Eric, I know you had one that Jason almost spoiled earlier. So
yes, at the hot dog stand.
Yes.
I'm gonna slide you my wiener. Oh, I'm gonna ruin it again.
Good job. Yeah, you did ruin it. I'll do a different one then.
No, lay it out. You say it verbatim.
No, you lay it out.
Yo, you slide me the wiener.
How about that? Anyway.
Wait a minute. Are we talking about hot dogs?
What it says.
What he says is, you slip me the cash and I'll slip you the wiener.
Yes.
That's
like
the line.
it.
Okay.
There you
also at the party, the one of the guys at the party says to Daryl, I think, he says, "I must be hallucinating. Does anyone else see a talking penis?"
I actually heard that one and I meant to write it down and forgot to. You said you have more, dear?
One stitch, all better. I don't know why, but sometimes whenever somebody says one, just in my head, it's one stitch, all better. And of course, the quote of the movie.
3, 2, 1.
Don't fuck with the babysitter.
Of course.
So badass.
I wrote down Sarah's probably hanging from the rafters right now. I thought that one was pretty
good one.
funny.
Yep.
You kids must be from the suburbs. When they're talking about Mike in the car and how much of a douche he is, Daryl says, "He kicked my ass. Want to see the footprint?" Also, they're talking about Daryl and Sarah says, "Get in the car, run him over." I like that one a lot. And nobody leaves this place without singing the blues.
Yep, it's a good one.
Those are most.
At the end of this episode, we'll all have to sing the blues because nobody's
Nope.
getting out of this podcast without singing the blues.
Nope. Not gonna happen. So, all right, let's get back to some problems I have here. No kid would climb out of a window of a skyscraper. I'm sorry.
We're gonna jump all the way to that, huh?
I don't care how stupid the kid is, so you can give me that excuse all you want to.
You'd be surprised.
No kid would climb out of a skyscraper window and do what she does. This is highly problematic for me.
It seems extreme.
Absolutely extreme. Like, a grown man wouldn't even do this.
I think she thinks she's Thor. Like,
I don't know, man. How far into the Thor thing can we really go? I mean, she's still a kid.
She's like all in.
But she's still a kid with a freaking conscience and emotions. Like,
she does wear a cape. She wears a cape.
She does.
She does not have her cape at this point.
Yeah,
so.
he ripped it off when she went in the freaking rotating doors.
Hey, why does he punch the guy that's waxing the floors? He
Just
knocks
because
out
he's a jerk.
Thugs. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like,
that
I
poor
need to
guy's
punch a
just
guy.
doing his job. He gets smashed in the face. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, things are pretty crazy at this point.
And I did want to point out, no, I have never hung out a skyscraper window.
See, Jason hasn't done
Yeah.
it. It's highly impossible.
I did not do that as a kid or even as a young adult. So sorry, have not done that.
So, but in reality, which we've said this movie is not based, the building that she is supposed to be on has actually a 45-degree angle, and this angle is much steeper than the actual building.
And Jenny's other job is
Thank you.
architecture. And if you're needing to have a home built or a building, call Jenny Browning.
Skyscrapers.
Skyscrapers are her forte.
Her specialty.
Angled ones.
Angled ones.
I kept screaming at the television, why doesn't Ron Canada say, I'm not going to hurt you. I don't want you to fall. Please come here and I can grab
He
you."
actually does say he's not going to hurt her when they're running around the building. He says that he's not going to hurt her, that he just wants to get something from her because he sees the Playboy in her backpack. Yeah. But she continues to run because she's a stupid kid.
Well, because now she's scared.
Yeah,
she hasn't been scared any other time because she's been with her babysitter.
And if she wouldn't have left her babysitter, she wouldn't be in this
And
predicament.
now she's scared. You said she's not scared enough. She's scared now.
But she's not too scared to crawl out on a building.
She's scared enough of the guy that out the window seems like the only viable option. That's how scared she is.
That's a big ass building. I think I could have ran and gotten to another floor other than climbing out of a window.
How many floors were in that building? Like 40 something? Hello. Yeah. Let's go to a different floor. Run back to the other. Just start pushing.
This is like the Nakatomi building, okay? Like Bruce Willis did not want to jump off the top of the Nakatomi. She's just climbing out the window.
I would have loved them to mash that together. Her walking around the building with the parents, and she comes across Hans Gruber. Hey, how you doing? It just keeps going.
Hans just falls,
and then Hans falls. But I mean,
you have to have that image of her outside the window of the parents' party, though, right? That's the payoff for all that.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. It's so 80s, 90s cliche of being out on a window and then everybody seeing you. Or even in older movies too. If you're outside, you have to go past the room of the people you don't want to see you. It's totally set up that way.
Yeah. It's a fun little part where they're going through in the coat closet and she's wearing the mink trying to walk around and see if she can find Sarah. Then they see her out the window. So that's something that was a very big trope in 80s movies was the fancy dinner place or whatever coat closets.
Yeah.
I've never seen a coat check place ever in my life.
I've seen a coat check. It was at a fancy place.
That's something else I wanted to say about this place that Mike is at with this girl. Like, I don't care if you're a college kid, like college kids, high school kids, they're not going to restaurants like Mike was eating at.
We don't know where Mike's from. He looks like a full-grown man. I don't know. He drives. This guy is a freaking pedophile, dude.
He looks like a full-grown man, but he doesn't dress like one. Like when we see him earlier in the movie, he's in sneakers and sweatpants, and he looks like he could be a high school football player.
I wear sneakers and sweatpants. What are you trying to say, bud?
Well, you could be a high school kid. I don't know.
He's wearing a suit at the restaurant, though, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. And that's what's weird. Like, I don't know. The 80s, again, one of those times. Like, they do that
People dressed up in the 80s.
True. I mean, they did that in the Karate Kid, too.
And I'm pretty sure there were 2 or 3 people in the corner doing lines of Coke on the table as the waitress is taking their order, because it's the 80s. Hello. You know, they did shit like that. Hey, anybody need an appetizer? Yeah, can I get 3 lines, please? You know, it's the 80s.
Yeah. I guess when you're a kid watching these movies and now as an adult watching them, you're like, notice all this stuff and you're like, you weren't paying attention to it as a kid, so it didn't matter. But it's definitely stuff I notice now that just sort of irks me. But
oh, yeah, definitely.
There's one little part that happens when they finally find out where Sarah's at and they go upstairs and Ron Canada, whatever his name is, has climbed out the window to go get her. And they throw the rope down and get her. As they're pulling her in the window, she grabs hold of Brad and she goes, "Oh, Brad." It does not sound right.
It's ADR and it does not sound right.
It does not sound right at all. Like, it sounds entirely too like sensual the way it's said.
Yeah, it's not good.
Like, go back and watch that scene again. Yeah. It's bad. I was like, they should have recut that. They should have ADR'd over that one, something, because it made me like sent a chill down my back. It was gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little tacky.
Yeah, and they leave Ron Canada out on the outside.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Joe comes back to save the day.
Yeah, good old Joe.
Yeah, what is going to happen with Joe? Because he just punched his mob boss out. Like, he needs to leave town. Joe has to.
Maybe he is leaving town.
Maybe. I mean, he's one way or another. He's either leaving town or he's going to go sleep with the fishes.
Sleep with the fishes. I was about to say he's going to wear a pair of concrete shoes.
It is Chicago. People come up missing.
He's going to be at the bottom of the lake in one of those cars that he jacked. Yeah, I jotted that down because I was like, he just punched that dude in the face. Like, he is definitely not getting out of this.
He's done. He can't show up for work on Monday morning.
No, he's done.
But we finally get Sarah. We finally get out of the building, and
there's time for one more disgusting action by Daryl. He tries to sneak a peek
after they pick Brenda up.
They finally pick Brenda up. Yeah,
she's passed out after her ordeal, and he tries to sneak a peek under her shirt because he's a sick little turd.
Yep.
And again, a lot of this in the 80s. If we ever, when we get around to watching License to Drive, it's going to come up again too.
Oh God. Yeah. Well, I mean, even Brad knows. Brad's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That's what you have to do. You got to stop your friends from being creeps.
That's the one thing you can really say about Brad in this movie is even though he's kind of the, kid who's not really stepping out, or, I mean, he does come out of his shell a little bit in this movie, but like, he seems honorable. He's never at a point where he's like doing anything creepy like Daryl is, like he's always kind of on, at least some sort of a level playing field. And that's something to like about him, I think.
I wish Brad had some kind of a payoff.
True.
Like the best he gets is the end. She says, we're friends. She acknowledges that we're friends now.
Right.
She sees him,
and you can
I
see
think,
it on
a
his...
bit more as like an equal than before, as like
right.
just a child, which of course she is also a child because she's 17. Anyway.
But you can see it on his face because George shows back up with the Jeep because Sarah lost her skate. It was in the back of his Jeep, so he drives all the way into the suburbs to bring it. Dan drives all the way back into the suburbs to bring it to him, and he's looking for a babysitter, which again is a little creepy.
Yeah, I have a problem now.
I'm a baby.
I'm a
baby. Will you change my diaper?
Like, can I pay you to babysit me?
Yeah.
You know what's funny is it made
cringe.
It made me think of The Boys because she's in The Boys, and
remember
Homelander does that whole like mommy thing that's super gross.
The breastfeeding thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All I could think of was that.
You can see it on Brad's face that he's still a little torn up about the fact that he knows he's not going to get the girl in this movie, but I'm okay with that. Like, I think if there was anything they could have done in this movie a little better, it would have, because you've got Daryl making out with the college girl and all this stuff. Like, you could have had something where Brad runs into a high school friend somewhere within all of this and he kind of hits it off with her. And it gives you hope for his character at the end, or something.
Yeah, I mean,
like
it would
that.
be hard to fit that in there, but I agree. Something like maybe, maybe
at the Blues Club,
Chris has a friend. I have a younger friend that I want you to meet. It could just be a drop line like that would just kind of give Brad a little something there. Because
even if Brenda would have been her like sophomore friend. And then like once they picked Brenda up, like him and her hit it off or something.
Brilliant. Good
like
one.
that would have been a whole lot better than Daryl being a creep the entire movie.
Or just at the end you just have like a really unnecessarily long hookup scene with Chris and Brad.
Well, that's what they do nowadays. Because that's what I'm going to get to at the end here is like all 80s movies end as soon as the trials and tribulations are over. It's never a follow-up the next day. It's never anything. It's like we kiss, the end.
Yep.
Roll credits and no post-credit scenes.
But did you know
there's a post-credit scene?
There is a post-credit scene in this movie.
I did not know.
I did not know.
Oh, did you even watch this movie?
Yes.
So
yes, it took me 4.5 hours to watch it.
Okay, I'm claiming this for my own because Josh didn't know either.
This is absolutely Jenny's thing. Like we were watching the movie, the credits came on, and I turned it off, and she goes, "You didn't watch the post-credit scene?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" There is a post-credit scene in this movie, and if you go all the way past all the credits before Marvel made this shit popular, Adventures in Babysitting had one, and it's Ron Canada is still out on the outside of the building.
Poor guy.
It just cuts to him, and he's like
crying
or like whimpering like a baby.
That's great. I love that.
It's great.
I was just thinking.
But Josh brought this up, but when Paramount was going to do this movie, they wanted Molly Ringwald to play.
Yes,
Elizabeth Shue's
they
part.
did.
Right.
Yeah. That was part of the thing. I think Chris Columbus actually fought to actually not have Molly Ringwald in this movie, but they did. They were like, we want her, no ifs, ands, or buts, and it didn't happen.
And they wanted Sarah to be obsessed with He-Man and She-Ra, but Chris Columbus is a Marvel fan, and he changed it to Thor.
You know, honestly, I think He-Man would have been better for the movie at the time.
Or She-Ra.
Probably, yeah.
Or She-Ra, yeah. Because, I mean...
So hold on. A mechanic wouldn't be holding a sword.
True. I mean, Thor makes more sense. I just think in terms of the popularity of He-Man at the time, like, it probably would have worked out better for them in some way if they could have worked that in. But I think the Thor thing works great.
Well, then you could have had Dolph. Dolph could have been...
Oh, Dolph Lundgren. Yeah, there you go. That would have
been great.
There you go.
Oh, shit. So, all right, let's get to our good, the bad, and the ugly.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
This is where we talk about the good stuff, the bad stuff, and the ugly stuff. The ugly stuff is optional, but I'm going to go first this time. The good is Elizabeth Shue and her opening scene. I love it. I think it sets the mood for her character pretty well, and I think Elizabeth Shue is great in the movie. And I do think the movie is fun, however, a little problematic. The bad is the babysitting blues. Not feeling the babysitting blues. And the ugly, I would say, is all the homo stuff. I don't care for. So, Jenny, how about you?
The good is the pacing of this movie. I feel like this movie is perfectly paced. It immediately draws you into the characters, the situation, and then it just hits every point from there. You're just going from one problem to the other, and how do they get out of it?
Yeah.
I love it. Also, Elizabeth Shue's hair. It's perfection.
I prefer her hair in the Karate Kid, but...
It's perfection. The bad, the end, paying for her to babysit, like that's, really, this is the first time that has occurred to me that's creepy and shouldn't do that. So, and then, the ugly homophobia is our old nemesis from the 80s movies coming back again.
Old nemesis.
Homophobia. Eric, good, the bad, and the ugly. Go for it.
Okay. The good is a tie between Chris's yellow gloves and Sarah's red sneakers.
Nice.
Iconic.
Chris's
yellow
coat
gloves.
is pretty badass, too.
Yeah, the coat. And the scarf.
She got it from her dead grandpa.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
She's like a Benetton ad.
Bad is the babysitter, is a bad babysitter. And parents don't even know all this. Their daughter nearly died multiple times. And then at the end of the day, they pay old babysitter. Brutal. As a parent, I'm infuriated.
It makes you wonder, like, what have the babysitters that you've hired done with your kids while you've been away?
Ooh. Then ugly, I'm gonna Brad's hair.
Yeah.
His hair,
That's not
terrible.
good.
Yeah, Brad's hair is pretty bad. I agree. Jason, bring us home.
Oh, well, the good, I kind of like Sarah through the whole movie. I like her obsession with Thor. I like that she doesn't mind being a kid through the whole movie and sticking up for what she likes, dude. I mean, she totally believes Thor is real. She is Thor, and she sticks with it through the whole movie. I mean, we got the couple parts where she's frightened, but hey, what superhero hasn't been in a bad situation where they're frightened? I mean, Thor in the comics has. So,
by Odin's beard.
But my bad, wasn't like this wasn't my movie growing up. I know it was Jenny loved it. Just not a fan of the overall movie, but there are fun parts, and I do like some of the characters. Like I said, when it comes to movies like this, Babysitting and Parents Gone, don't tell mom the babysitter's dead is my watch. But and the ugly, the horrible wig that Thor is wearing, that is I actually when he came down the elevator, I still remember that from when I watched it as a younger kid of how bad that wig it was. I even noticed it as a kid that it was a bad wig. So yeah,
but you were really into wigs as a kid.
I love wigs, man.
Yeah. You know your wigs.
I know my wigs. And I wanted to point out something beside all this. I swear there was a part in the movie, I thought I had it in my notes, but I remember seeing it when the car pulls up and knocks the boy statue over.
There is,
and that's what happens in Home Alone also. Yes. And being Chris Columbus, I noticed it and I thought I wrote it down, but I was like making sure that I remembered it from this movie, that he also does that in Home Alone also.
Cool. Yeah.
So,
yep.
Nice little detail.
I'm all about the details.
Well, we have any other closing statements about our watch of Adventures in Babysitting?
Got to rent it, buy it, or forget it. Right?
I'd say it's a rental. I mean, it's a fun watch.
We own it, so
we own it. But I mean, if it's a movie that you're thinking about watching, it's worth a rental for sure.
Yeah, I would say rental as well. I don't need to own this one.
It's definitely a rental, and then follow it up with "Don't tell mom the babysitter's dead."
Maybe we'll get to that one at some point.
We will.
The dishes are done, man.
Okay, well, with us getting right back on track here, we're still working a few kinks out with things, so we don't have a movie picked for next week, but we're going to try something new here tonight, everyone.
Oh, I love how Josh is just throwing this stuff on us.
We're pulling out the Wheel of Death. We've got a whole bunch of movies on a wheel here, and I'm going to spin it, and whatever movie it lands on, that's what movie we're watching. There are too many movies on it for me to list, so whatever we land on, that's what we're watching. Is everybody ready?
I'm ready.
Wait, how many vetoes do we get?
How many vetoes do we get? No vetoes.
Oh.
All right, is everybody ready? 5, 4, 3, and we're spinning.
Jesus.
No whammies. No whammies. No whammies.
This wheel sucks. All right, we're spinning. We're spinning. We're spinning.
Oh.
The next movie we will be talking about is John Landis's American Werewolf in London.
Woo! Werewolf movies! Finally!
Is this not a horror movie?
I think it is horror comedy.
Okay.
So
I consider it a horror comedy. But yeah,
I have seen it.
Josh and I had discussed this because over in our other show, the horror section, I've been wanting to do werewolf movies, but this one come up, but it's too big for a horror section. We need to do it on the main show.
This is absolutely a mainstream movie about a werewolf, so we decided this would be more in like of something for a movie of the week as opposed to the horror section. But we will be talking some other werewolf movies on the horror section coming up very, very soon. But expect us to be talking about An American Werewolf in London next week. So it'll be fun. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I'm very, very excited to be watching it again. So
I saw it over this past Halloween, but I'll watch it again.
Yeah. One of the best werewolf transformations on film, if you ask me. So I'm very excited to watch it again.
Very.
And our third werewolf that we've talked about, right?
Well, third werewolf we've talked about, but really the first werewolf movie, I would say.
I think Teen Wolf is a werewolf movie, but
yeah. Oh, you're right. That was so long ago that I've actually forgotten.
But
we did Teen Wolf.
But that has no element of horror in it at all.
Right. You're right.
True.
So,
and then Wolfman from Monster Squad. Of course. So, all right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Hope you had fun listening to us talk about Adventures in Babysitting. It was a fun discussion for all of us. I had fun watching it this time. Check us out on all of our social media platforms. Drop us an email if you have any suggestions you'd like to hear, or any movies, any questions, any of that kind of stuff. And until next time, be kind, rewind. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Bye.
We're back, baby!
We're back. Get the fuck out.
It's over.
Oh, good job, everyone.
You've been listening to the VHS Files Podcast.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
If you like what you heard, please subscribe and drop us a rating and a review wherever you get your podcast.
It was fun.
Send your questions, comments, and movie suggestions to vhsfilespodcast@gmail.com.
You sick fucks. You've seen one too many movies.
Don't you blame the movies?
Follow us on all social media outlets at VHS Files Podcast.
Movies don't create psychos.
Check out our YouTube channel for more content.
Movies make psychos more creative.
Thanks for listening.
To this date,
And science. I'm really craving some lasagna. I'm so hungry.
dude, I've had the same problems lately. It's so annoying.
I hate you, Odie.
During my segment, you guys know not to talk unless I address you. Where's he going? I'm ready to record now. Oh, yeah. Cut this out. Okay, cut that out. Let's start again.
All right, go pee if you need to.
You can do it one day and not the other day. Don't listen to Josh. Be yourself. Live your life. Anyway, hey,